This is The Word. Today, I'm interviewing the author, Rajee Narinesingh, about her book, Beyond Face Value. Previously, Rajee was interviewed on my show on Keta Media Investigators to talk about her appearance on the talk show, Trisha. But today, she has come on The Word to speak about her memoir. Rajee, thank you so much for being on The Word.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, and I'm excited.
So, first question I have for you is, why did you write this book?
This book is what I call the big kahuna.
Yes.
The big one, because I think it's my best work. I also think that it was the hardest thing that I did as far as my writing projects are concerned. Because when you're writing a memoir, if you really are trying to be authentic to your story, you have to sometimes visit situations that maybe you really don't want to visit again.
Absolutely.
Talk about things that maybe were embarrassing, mistakes that you made along the way. But I really felt like in order to be real to my story, I had to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, all of it.
And were you satisfied with the finished product and the way that it came out?
Yes, I was. I thought that this was the best time to, if I was going to do a memoir, to do one, based on the fact that, the story of my black market botched injections went global.
Yeah.
And I thought, if there was ever a time, this is the time to put my story out there. A lot of times what happens is when the media gets fixated on a particular aspect of your story,
the most sensational part.
Yes, that's the driving force. But still, on the whole, I thought that this was the best time to do it, so that's why I released it. I live in Hollywood, Florida.
Yeah.
So I said, I live in Hollywood. I always said I was going to go to Hollywood, but I should have been more specific. She says, but girl, in an odd kind of way, you have gotten fame. And I said, well, you're right. I guess in an odd way I have. Literally overnight, my story was all over the world. So with the internet age, you can be anywhere and it can happen. Call it D-list fame or whatever. And I can be in the market now, the supermarket or at the post office and be recognized, because of my story getting out there. I was saying to you before we got started off the air that sometimes you put things out into the world, into the universe, and it takes time for it to build a momentum.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's how it's been with my book.
Oh, there it is. I've only ever seen it in ebook form.
Oh, yes. This is the hardback.
Oh, very nice.
Soft and
lovely. Oh, and it has your picture on the back and everything. That's great.
Yes, of course. Anyone that has read this book, giving you your props and saying, my God, your book was great. It was a page turner. It was I was talking to them, telling them a story. This one reporter from the UK, a week ago, I get this message from him on my Facebook page, and he just told me that he thought it was great. He said that it was definitely an excellent read. And what brought tears to my eyes was he said, but you're still here and you're still standing. And it's people like you and him and other people that give me the inspiration to continue going. It really does. Makes me feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do here in this world. Because sometimes I question if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do and if I'm on the right track. I'm speaking from my soul.
I read memoirs the most, but this memoir is probably the most authentic, raw, unvarnished, conversational piece of memoir literature that I've ever read.
Oh my God, and coming from you, that is the compliment of all compliments. I'm trying to connect with my life journey to others, through my life journey to others. And I would say that has brought me the most joy. When I get feedback on the book, it's like the person is saying, God, I don't have any transgender friends. I'm not transgender, but I swear this book really touched my life, and that to me, it transcends because, I think we all, every single human being on some level wants to leave a legacy. If I died tomorrow, I think I'd be able to die knowing that I left something behind that for whoever is interested in reading, it will touch them on some level. I said, my God, my work hasn't been in vain. Knowing that work is good work, and that work is important work, and that work is eternal work. I stand on the shoulders of the ones that came before me. My injustice is a threat to your justice.
Absolutely.
The weeds of injustice can infiltrate the gardens of all people, and we don't want weeds, we want flowers. When the book came out, there was still some family that they weren't too happy about me bringing the book out. But again, I don't think that I threw anyone under the bus. What I will say, though, since I've been so public these last 2.5 years, is that there are some haters out there. I mean, I get some nasty messages on my YouTube channel. I get some nasty messages on my Facebook. People that just hate me. They have their reasons. I was at a get-together, and I've known this, it was only about maybe 8 of us there. And we were talking, and we do this from time to time, friends of mine. We get together at someone's house, and we bring food and drink, and we sit around and we talk about current events and different topics. And there was a guy there that I've known for years, and all of a sudden he turns to me and he's like, saying that, what am I doing with my life? And he'd like to see me be more of an activist, and just going on. And I asked him, I said, what do you mean? I mean, this is coming from someone that, to my knowledge, does zero, activist work in the community. And I've, for over 15 years, been giving of myself. I'm like, how much more do you want? He proceeded to mention some of my YouTube videos that I post up. And I was trying to explain to him that, yes, I'm an activist. I'm more than just an activist. I have some YouTube videos with scenes of me from Bellamata, the all-trans soap that I started. I have some spoofing videos that I do. I think that what happens is when you put yourself out there, it comes to a point where you just have to, resign yourself to the fact that you can't please everyone.
Yes.
And you just have to go with your inner spirit and know that, you've done the best that you can. And there's going to be people that just, for whatever reason, don't like it or feel you don't do enough, or you should do more, or why did you do this thing, or et cetera,
And this person's definition of activism seems kind of narrow. Any of your projects could be seen as activism.
You know what? I am so happy that I'm on your show today because you get me. That's what I was trying to explain.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to convey a message through humor. People connect that way. You find other ways to get messages across.
Well, as long as there is this kernel or this message in it, then it's still activism.
Did I tell you that you were brilliant?
Thank you very much. In any form, that would be, in my definition, that would be activism.
Well, and you know what I told him and I told the rest of the group there? I said, just me being present is activism.
Yeah. The people that take such a myopic view that activism is only marching on the streets and or organized activities, I think they have really closed minds, because you can live an activist life and never do traditional, what is considered activist things. Your life can still be revolutionary.
I told him, I said, if I go to the post office and 20 people see me in the post office, guess what? That's an act of activism. Because
Absolutely.
they're seeing someone that has had the courage to be authentic to their self and live their true life, their authentic life. And so, that in itself, so totally, and it's so great to connect with a mind that gets that, but again, there comes a point where you can try to please everyone and you end up in the corner with a dribble cup,
Yeah, and I love that line too from your memoir, because I feel like there were times in my life where I was headed that way, and that's something that I'm struggling with too. So reading it again and again in the memoir really helps me, because if I am to think about it, if I really say, oh God, I just want to please everyone, I will end up in the corner with a dribble cup. It's not going to happen. It's not. So in the preface to Beyond Face Value, you write about gratitude, quote, "We are all an individualized manifestation of God in human form. Major religions today would contend that God is something outside humankind. How would you respond to these people?"
Wow. Well, what I've learned to do in my spiritual journey is to respect people for where they are in their journey. So in saying that, I don't know if really I would waste, and I hate to use that word waste, but I think in many cases it would be wasting my energy to try to explain my definition of spirituality and my belief. But if I was to do it, everything that exists on the planet except nature was started in a thought and brought to manifestation. Before there was the wheel, some human being had to think about the idea and then bring it to manifestation. Before there was a plane, someone had to think, wow, maybe we could fly like birds if we build a container that carries us up into the air. And then before there were computers, everything, tables, chairs, houses. I mean, it started in a thought and then it manifested in creation. We all have the ability to create and not just procreate. So, you know what? There's probably a lot of Muslims and Christians and who knows whoever else that might be listening to this one day and want to shoot me, but I'm going to say it. We all are God. I stand strong in that. We are all God.
I'm sure the fatwa is coming hot off the presses as we speak.
I'm getting my bulletproof vest now.
Well, the silicone should do that for you, right?
Oh, you're right. Hey, I'm cement woman. The bullets.
Oh, yeah, cement. So you should be even more fun. Why did you choose to resist the temptation to change who you were for an easier life?
Wow. Whoa. Okay. It wouldn't have been easier. I would have felt like I was in a prison, a social prison. And so as hard as my life has been, I always say this, that I'm free. When you see me, you see someone that as a little boy didn't feel like the other little boys in the neighborhood growing up, had this effeminate way, grew up thinking that I was gay, an effeminate gay guy, and in my 20s then realized, my God, I'm transgender, and knew that I couldn't be happy trying to be what I guess society thought I should be or believed that I should be. And I think every human being can relate to that on some level. Maybe not as drastic as it's been with me, but I think we all have have had to make decisions against the grain. Like things that we knew within ourselves that were so important to do, even though everyone else was saying, no, don't do it, and it's wrong, but you knew in your soul that you had to do it. And so that's what it's been for me. And so as hard as my life's been, I still feel free. People saw it in me. Like even when I tried to, I had maybe a phase where I was calling myself trying to like fit in and go with the norm, and that was that was impossible for me to do, because on some level I feel like I've always stood out in some way, even from a young child. But people always seem to pick up on that energy, because you know what? More than our bodies, we are energy.
Yes.
We're living, vibrating energy. And you know, there's this feminine energy and masculine energy and the combination of both, and some people have more of one. And even though I was in a male body, I had so much female energy that anywhere I went, people were, you know, they were keying into it. Mm-hmm. So it's like, what's the use? Why not be who I want to be, you know, if they're keying into it anyway? After all that I've been through, I don't know. I'm thinking I'd like to maybe go to the next level after this life. I don't know if I want to come back here.
Well, didn't the fortune teller say this was your last incarnation?
Yes. Oh, my God. You know what? You read my book.
Yes, I read your book. I did. I remember that. And that was one of the poignant moments as well. And who knows? I guess it remains to be seen. I don't know how you can tell if that's true. But so if you had repressed your gender identity, how do you imagine that your life would be different today?
Wow. Oh, my God. You know what? You know how I answer that question? I can't even imagine. This has been my journey, and there's like, to me, there's a divinity in this. You know, as hard as it's been, it's like, this is the way it was supposed to be, this particular life and this journey. And, you know, and not to change that, not to change it.
And I truly believe that, that seeing the example of your life and people who are similar to it, who are different or maybe perceived as outsiders, and society reacts negatively to that. I believe that spiritually, that society was not meant to change you. It is the presence of people like you as a vanguard that triggers the changes in society.
Wow.
Because a lot of people, unfortunately, and society at large lags behind. They don't realize that people like you are a gift to see into the future and to see into a greater understanding of what humankind can be.
And you're speaking that, and it's totally resonating with me. It's totally resonating with me.
Because you've lived it. How have you resisted the temptation in the past to end your life when it felt like it was becoming too difficult?
Oh, you know, I don't even know how I made it through some of those situations. At the core of who I am, even as hard as it was, and people telling me, oh, that I was no good and I don't belong here, and, you know, all of the different negative messages, at the core of it, I still knew that my life was divine, even if it was subconsciously. I believe in divine intervention, and you getting a person getting signs when they need it the most, whether it's a song coming on the radio or a particular documentary that comes on that you need to see in that moment, or a dream that you have that gives you a profound message to hold on, or some people might say an outer body experience, which I feel that I did have. But yeah, different things, or bumping into someone, a perfect stranger, that gives you a word of advice or some pleasant words.
When was the first time in your life that you felt like you wanted to end your life, and why did you feel this way?
Wow. I would say when I was brutally beaten up by a group of guys. This was in the early 2000s. That was, not only was my body beaten in that night, but my soul. I felt so it was just like, I didn't even know how I was going to have the strength to continue going. But this was the first time that I was truly, like, I guess, ready to go, maybe. In that moment, I was like, oh, I don't think there's no place for me here. Yes. Like, the world there's no place for me in this world. I need to check out. Like, what's the use? They want me dead. They wanted to destroy me. And, I remember, I'm saying this, and I remember something that Alice Walker said, the author of The Color Purple. When she sees something beautiful, she rejoices in it. But then in the next moment, she gets sad because she knows there will be something that comes along that wants to destroy it. There was an incident, and I talked about it in the book, where, and this was a big lesson for me. I was coming out of a club one night, and there was a group of guys that passed, and they saw me, and they started calling me horrible names like freak and shim, and they threw a bottle at me out the window, and they zoomed off. And then about a couple minutes later, a guy pulls up in a truck, and he's like, hey, baby, oh my God, you're so beautiful. Come here, can I talk to you? You're so gorgeous. And in that moment, it was like, oh my God, am I like in a dream here or a nightmare or what?
Yes.
And that taught me a lesson. I said, it's all perception. It's all the way a person is able to perceive something. If you look at the history of the world, there have been other groups before us that, were, I guess, persecuted because they were considered different, and they basically came with just a different message or a different vibe. But I kind of compare it to soap. And I might pick up a bar of Coast because I like the packaging and the scent. You might like the Ivory because it's like, it looks white and fresh, and it has like the moisturizer in it. But when it all is said and done, it's all just soap. It's all soap. But it's packaged different because, people can relate to things in different ways, or different packages. It's kind of like even with some of these spiritual gurus. They're all basically giving the same message.
Yes.
But it's packaged in a different way because not everyone is going to be able to receive the message from the same messenger. And even when you look at religion, okay, take Christianity, for instance. If there was one set way in Christianity, why would you have Catholicism, Methodist, Episcopalian, Baptist, Jehovah Witness, Pentecostal, all Lutheran, and the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
Take Islam, for instance, all the different types of Islamic sects that there are. Yes. That's actually the beauty of our world. And if people if they were able to just look and say, you know what, the beauty of the world is actually the diversity of the world, and stop trying to make everyone conform.
Yes.
I think we'd all be able to get so much more out of life and enjoy life so much more.
And we'd be able to see the similarities in our lives. But what's so unfortunate, people in these individual sects, so many of them, maybe even most of them, feel like their group is the only one who is interpreting the world correctly. And that's such a spiritually bankrupt idea, in my opinion, if I may say that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I totally agree with you. I always say, there's many roads and one destination. If 6 people were coming to your home, they'd probably all take 6 different routes, but they'd all get there. And
they get there at different times.
Yeah, exactly. Because, like my father was Hindu, but we weren't drilled to reach out or connect in one way. That was kind of left open. So if I was to be asked, like, what would I consider one of the positive things to the way I grew up, I would say that that's one of them, because we would do pujas, which are prayers in the Hindu religion with my dad, and then we go to church on Sunday with my mom.
I think it's been true for a lot of the people who grew up in Indian families who are Hindu, that it does give you more of a liberating foundation and a liberation consciousness, because Hinduism is less doctrinaire. Growing up under it, I have heard, feels less constricting than, say, Mormonism or something like that.
Yeah, right. Definitely.
So, looking back on what you describe as the whirlwind period of your life, starting with the Duchess injecting you through to the surgical procedures to remove the cement and glue, when you think back to that period, what images or thoughts come to your mind?
There was a time where I said, God, I'm trying so hard to be authentic to my life and to the way I want to live. And then when this happened with the reaction and everything, it was kind of like, oh my God, this is now all backfiring on me. Because the whole point was to match the way I felt on the inside with the way my outside looked. And the intentions were really inevitably to live my authentic truth. When things started to go haywire with me having the reactions in my face, and people can be quite cruel, and it's already hard enough being trans, but then now I was walking out into public with this distorted face and just being judged. And I remember I had this one guy, stranger, come up to me and just say to me, what the fuck happened to your face? And such disrespect. It's one thing to be concerned and say, well, I noticed something with your face. Like, what happened? It's not so much what you say, it's how you say it. And there was a point in time where I didn't want to leave my apartment. When I finally went to get help, I'm still in treatment with Dr. Martin 6-7 years later. And so 2 surgeries, still not able to remove all of it. Because it's mixed in with my tissues and nerves now. I can sit on a TV show in front of and know that like 5 million people are watching me. But for me to walk in a mall with maybe 50 people sometimes can be it can create a lot of anxiety. And yes. I think it's because of the fear of how people are going to react to me. And so, the psychological effects that this has had. Let alone me just dealing with my transgenderism and like me being beaten up and, that's the PTSD. And then on the spiritual level, I think that it was a test of my spiritual endurance, like my faith and me holding on and still knowing that, even though my face is distorted and even though, I'm transgender and people are laughing at me and thinking I'm some freak, and even though, I've become like this laughing stock in many ways, I still have a purpose here. I still have a message. I still have a divine earthly mission to accomplish. And holding on to that spiritually and with faith to getting through that time.
Well, Rajee, thank you so much for coming on The Word and talking about your book.
Beyond Face Value, it's available on all the online book retailers.
Absolutely, it's a fabulous memoir. And so before we go, what other current projects are you doing? Is there anything else you wanted to tell people about?
I'm in talks with a few producers for maybe some sort of reality show. I don't know if it's going to really manifest. I'd love to come back on your show.
Absolutely, and then we can talk about that.
And who knows, maybe you can even be on on my reality show. Wouldn't that be great?
That would be an honor.
Yes.
Because reality shows can be activism too, and I think that, if given the opportunity, you will prove that as well. Okay?
Oh, wonderful. Well, listen, I think I should actually jump out of the birthday cake today. Is there any way I can fly up there?
And where can people contact you online? What are your social media profiles?
Yeah, sure. You can go to my YouTube page. I have a lot of videos on there. I have scenes from Belamato, the trans soap that I'm in. I have some spoofing videos. I have some of my national and international videos that I've done on different talk shows. And you can go to Rajee Narinesingh. If you put Rajee, Rajee, I should pop right up. And then I have a Facebook page also that you can find me under Rajee, Rajee. Actually, I have two Facebook pages, Rajee Narinesingh, and I have Rajee LGBT World Unit.
Well, and you have the fan page as well, so you have three.
Oh, yeah.
Rajee, a.k.a. Cement Woman, as well.
Oh, my goodness. You know what? It's just so much social media. I can't even keep up with it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And you'll be able to view this on my YouTube channel. The video version will be on there. The audio version will be on my SoundCloud. And you can reach me at Facebook. So thank you very much again to my guests for coming. Thank you for viewing. And I wish everyone peace and blessings and a wonderful day and a wonderful life. Bye-bye.
Love, peace, and blessings.
The reason so many people like this is because you can do things like this with it. So hold on. Oh, crap. But yeah, but it's good for like conferences and things, you know.
Yeah. Am I that funny, guys?
Yeah, I'll make you feel really good because people just be clapping and laughing the whole time. I don't see you. Okay, you're back.
I'm an experiment, a living experiment. Oh my goodness! And I'm just kind of like, I'm not saying a word for word, but
this is the Rajee remix.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Oh my God! Now I'm gonna start dancing. Hey. Yeah.
Well, I think we have to end it here. That was actually my mom. Because it's my brother's birthday, so I have to go celebrate with him.
Oh, you know what I should do?
Hold on 1 second. That's her calling.
Okay.
Hi, Mom. I'm in the middle of a taping of The Word, and I was going to call you. I'm almost done.
Well, you know, I'm doing a lot of activist work here locally in South Florida.
But not enough, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's you know, it's one of those things like producers call you and they have an idea, and then like,
well, it's also fleeting oftentimes.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Even with the shows, like, you know, like they'll call you the day before and want you to come out to LA, and it's you know, but then sometimes you get a call and they're like, well, we'll call you back if we decide. You know, it's just like you said, it's just one of those things. But hopefully, I guess if it's meant to be, and okay.
Bye.
Tell Mommy I said hi.
I will.